So hello again today. Hope you are doing well. Uh, so I'm gonna just today show some examples, slides, uh, which we couldn't show uh, yesterday. So just I'm gonna switch now to. I hope you will be able to see. Let's see. Okay, so now this is one of the most important things in standardization of the construction process. It's called line of balance or flow line or location-based scheduling. And as I mentioned yesterday, it was used, for example, on Empire State Building and a lot of other buildings. And what is it in nutshell? As you can see, I know it's quite small, but you see all those lines and the colors are in the same order across the entire project. So it means that whenever you come to the certain space, you should have everything which must be finished before that finished, and everything which should not be finished not start. And then you are like in a factory, in assembly line, everything which, and you have the optimal work order, and you are get used to that, and you get maximum productivity. What is the problem? If, let's say, in this example of Empire State Building or here, there is a company, usually you say, okay, that your deadline is next, let's say, 1st December this year. And if someone deliver by that date, you will say, oh, I'm lucky. The guys delivered. But the problem is, if they are, let's say, have 3 times more workers because the other sites are not working, are not active at the moment, he will send all workforce to your. And you will say, oh, here you have more workers than it was planned. The problem is that those people will do faster their job and cross that line and finish everything, and it's not going to be a proper order. So first, there are definitely going to be at least one zone where they're going to work in parallel. So because of that, effectiveness cannot be good. And then the problem is that, let's say, I'm talking, for example, about parquet. And a next group of workers supposed to do a painting. So on the first 2 floors of the building, I did everything in a proper order. Then on the 3rd floor, parquet guys came to do the same time at the same time as I'm supposed to do the painting. So of course cannot be efficient. And then on the next floor, our team is having completely different situation. He has already parquet finished. He needs to protect and then have the problem. The next very important thing with line of balance is that if you want to speed up the process, maybe I will switch to let's say a live example. Just go to the line of balance here or an example. So this is just to mention, maybe very important. So this is a construction schedule. It's a Gantt chart. And we all know Gantt charts and all relationships and so on. And this is totally the same. So just different presentation. And so we have all these parallel lines. And I will zoom somewhere just to have an idea of what is happening. If you, let's say, speed up this and have 10 times more people, so they will do that here and then literally be stopped because partitions are not finished on another floor. So then again, they will wait for a couple of days. Then again, in one day, finish everything and again, wait. So you won't be able to finish faster. And the next issue is that workers, we as humans, If we cannot do optimally, we will not call the foreman and say, oh, sorry, I cannot work optimally. Because I will, try to do something, maybe bring some water, prepare something, read documentation. I will do something in those 4 days, and of course expect it to be paid for that 4 days. And that's a clear example of the waste. Why cycling is working in cycles is also crucial, and what is our experience on the real large-scale projects? We also, as humans, so let's say, sometimes you will see, maybe I will show you later examples, when you have a totally disbalanced situation. So what is a disbalanced situation? Only on one floor, I have a specific type of the work, and not across. Or specifically on this floor, I have 5 times or 2 times more partition walls because it's, let's say, differently organized. Then this could be a problem, because then so the options are different. So the option is to first intensify just for that week number of workers. The second option is to adjust, if possible, their working time slightly in that period. So ask them to work on Saturday or something like that, but then allow them next time to not work on Friday, let's say, or something like that. We also, as humans, a good thing is that when we know that it's more work, we will be more efficient that week and slightly less next week. That's completely normal. So that's how we naturally adjust ourselves to the complexity of the work. And another thing, what option we have is that the distance, in this case, between the tasks in an order, in this case, it's 5 days. It was defined in Excel, so could be changed, is what we call the buffer. So it means that when I'm working here on partitions, and when I finish, let's say this is entire phase, so these are several spaces, not just single one. We have a buffer of 4 days. The truth, empirical truth, what we did on a number of projects is that if the project does not have buffer, so I can now, if you want, change all these legs from 5 days to 1 day. And theoretically, it will shorten the execution of the project. But in reality, it will cause the problem because I don't have any buffer. And literally, if anything happens on the project, it will be just bump, 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 like on a road. We will all hit each other. And then it usually will be created the chaos. No? Doesn't work?
It's just, I think it's the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi is, okay.
I'm just going to share the screen again.
Okay.
You can carry on.
Yeah, so the thing is that you just need to connect. The thing is that the optimal buffer should be defined. How we can make the buffer? Okay, to live. Done. So there are 2 options for buffer. Option 1 is to make it bigger, or let's say bigger or smaller, or to define a different zones. So just to give you an example, if we just, instead of defining the zones, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, I will just show you how it looks like in reality. If I go here to color coding and just choose, I hope I have here a zones. Construction sequence. Okay, you see now we virtually have 3 zones. So we have the options. Option 1 is, thank you. So option 1 is that zone is just a single floor. Then we will have a buffer of 1 building floor, which is 2 big buffers. So it means that it prevents that if I'm working on that floor, no one can work on that floor. And this is very conservative, not optimistic. I could have 3 zones like here, or I could literally have every room as a zone. And this is theoretically the optimal way. So the combination of zones, the size of the zones and buffer should be defined in an optimal way and always should be kept. So in theory, there have been a lot of research published about that. So the rule of thumb is if we have in total the buffer, it depends of course on the project, but let's say between 1 month and a half, usually this is optimal. I'm talking about some standard average size project, whatever it means that. If you have a 0 buffer, usually you finish later than if you have that normal buffer, let's say. If you, of course, it's bad if you have 6 months buffer, because then natively you envision that you will work slow. So how in Bexel, it is how you can customize this, and actually what are the, so first of all in Bexel you can define the default task duration, then later you can easily just, let's say, these are the works we have here. We can just select all the works. So let's say I'm going to select all leave tasks. Okay, select leave tasks. Okay. Not just that, just leave tasks. Okay. And now if I want, I can just similar like in any other tool, just change the information. So I can say, okay, time, instead of 5 days, my cycle needs to be 3 days, let's say. I will just do that, click OK, and you will see immediately it shorten everything. And now if I go to line of balance, you will see that the gap will be slightly shorter. What you can do also is where you define the relationship between tasks. So how Bexel works, you have two groups of how the system is generated. So what's good news, there is an ISO standard 21511. It's a part of project management standards, and it says construction schedule should be standardized, not whatever you want to do in a way you would like to do. It's similar like quantity takeoff and other stuff. I don't know why we have doors and different categories and entities in a BIM model. Otherwise, it's a chaos. So for example, how the system should work according to that ISO standard. You should have a different level. So if I go here to our schedule, you will see later how it's generated. It has first is a type of work. Of course, you can switch this if you want later. Then you have a zone or sub-activity. Then you have a location on which floor this is, and even a sub-zone. So it could be any type of the organization of this. But the idea is that any of organization you are going to use, you should follow similar strategy. So in Bexel, you have 2 types of rules. So one is what is called methodology or scheduling logic. And you describe how you are going to build the project. So you start with for example, site preparations, then foundations, then beams, and so on. And you can define all these relationships. So let's say finish start relationship, working hours, lag, and the system, whenever he finds those 2 group of elements, if they exist on a certain floor or a certain zone, he will automatically create relationship between those tasks. If I don't have this, a second group of the elements, then it means that those stairs are not having a predecessor. But what Bexel do in an intelligent way, he relink relationships of what you have. So this is a maximum subset of the activities. It's not necessarily that I will have all these tasks. So Bexel, in intelligent way, if I don't have that group of elements, let's say, he will automatically reconnect that group and that group and calculate cumulative relationship between them. So in order to prevent situation where you don't have a predecessor. The next thing which is important is that Bexel has, you don't have so much time, but just to give you an idea. So there are a lot of lectures on our YouTube channel, our experts, product specialists, they elaborate this much more detail. But the thing is that just want to mention some interesting stuff. So when you go to the animation, which is just to see how it, so just I will first maybe elaborate how it's generated. The thing which also could happen, that if I have a fixed order of activities, something which cannot happen in assembly line is that, for example, I already finished all, let's say, beams I already finished my formwork and or slabs on my previous floor. And since I can work, and the group who is doing only slabs can start working on another floor. And theoretically, I can start working on a slab even if the previous activity is not finished on the floor below. So in Bexel, you can define that's what's called stop relationship. So this is a unique relationship. You don't have it in Primavera project. It says that you can start working on the, let's say, beams on the next floor only when cast in place walls on the level below. In this configuration, beams are always above, not below, but can be the opposite as well. So the system automatically can create relationships from different zones, different stories, and so on. And this is the way how Bexel generates all this. So when you have, this is one group, you can make the life complicated and go to the columns and then say, okay, in columns, I have 4 sub-activities. So first one is reinforcement, second formwork, third one concrete, and fourth one finishing. And the system will, for every cast in place column, create 4 sub-activities. And will use, of course, different formulas and so on. And this is a standardized. So I know it looks a bit complex, but experienced planner could develop this in less than 1 day and can reuse this on all similar projects. So there are certain companies, I will mention one of them, it's Nesma, largest in Saudi Arabia. They have a fully standardized this on all their projects. So whenever they start planning, they just load one of the templates and develop initial version of schedule. Of course, later, when it's generated, you can fine-tune, do leveling resources, and so on. So just the second part, which cannot be reused, are obviously zones. So in this case, you have zones, let's say, and in this situation, I have 2 levels of zones. So first one is a building story. So I have sub-level, entry, and so on. I can just show you visually where those zones are. So building story. So you see, those are the zones I have in the model. And I have also this construction sequence. So 3 sub-zones. And maybe there is one which is called exterior area, but that's it. So if I now just on one place delete this relationship and start from phase 1 to phase 3 and then move in the opposite order, I will have a completely different construction schedule. So I just, now when I have this done, unfortunately we don't have all the time. I wanted to show you something else, but I believe this is interesting. So the workflow goes like this. So you have a cost database. Again, I need slightly to speed up, so there are a lot of lectures. So how the system works with the cost estimation. It works that it always have queries and formulas which automatically calculate on a certain element. So if I go now to those elements, I can say, can you select to me applicable elements in the project? And if I go there, isolate, you will see that just by these queries and formula, system noted that to these elements, I supposed to attach those cost items. And I'm supposed to use this formula. Excel has a lot of data checks, automatically check if all elements have property, volume, or width, or length. Otherwise, he will send us a warning. But anyway, this is one direction. The opposite works as well. So if I just say, okay, I'm going to see all the elements and click on one of them and say, can you find to me applicable cost items in a database? So filter applicable. And in this example, he found to me one wall insulation, which is applicable for that. So the both directions works. And I have this, let's say I'm going to now just, the idea is that whenever you update the model, as soon as possible, you update all analysis. And if you allow me, I will go back to that slide, which is quite important. So this is that idea. This is a traditional approach and that. Of course, we or the others cannot do everything here. But the idea is that to have a BIM-centric project management as much as possible. Okay, so if I go now here, I will just do now how to assign cost items to new cost version. And the system is now creating an initial cost estimate. Later I can add profit margins, overhead costs, so everything, and Excel is very flexible. So even if I have a same element on the first floor and on a 10th floor, I can say that on the 10th floor, due to crane, it's need to be more expensive. So I can do whatever I want, organize, because up to the single element, I know the cost. So when I did this, I have literally, you see right now, created entire cost estimate. Initial, of course. So if I just, let's say, move, I don't have subcontractors, I don't have any taxes at the moment. It's very simplified. I can add this later, but I have entire cost estimate. And it works again bi-directional. So if I go here to foundations, select elements, isolate, I see what is included. Or opposite, if I just select one, which is very strange, let's imagine that phase, just one phase, I say filter by element selection, and I see it's 2.9 million. So any combination, or if I just select one element, 18,000. And I see all the cost items, so it's not necessarily one, could be more. If I isolate one slab, I have a formwork, I have all other cost items, and everything done automatically. So there are tools which can do that manual, and that's very good. The problem is that we do not have time. On a site, when you update the model, if you cannot, as soon as possible, deliver this, literally, if I'm project manager, I will tell you, maybe I can use this just to see where I have been on a previous project efficient or not. But I cannot change the things here. Okay, when I have this, also one interesting thing about value, I mentioned yesterday value of the data. So now why this is valuable? This is not just Excel-like spreadsheet. If I want to reorganize this according to construction schedule or any other type of grouping, I can just choose the option, ungroup assignments, and I have now a plain list. Not grouped. So all cost, and then I can say, let's group this by, let's say, construction schedule. So I will just explain to you what is the difference. So this first one was a classical standard cost classification. Now I could have a scheduling based cost classification. So you will see now he will divide up my costs across each phase and subphase. which I didn't have before. So the total, if everything works well, it works, should be the same. But now, if I go to the phase 1 in sub-level, pile caps, I see it's 24,000 and if I choose a select elements, isolate, you will see only the piles and pile caps in that phase are here. So I can reorganize my cost according to any need, and this is the value of the true data model. If I go back here, and sometimes we need even to do a workaround. Sometimes the client says, I already have SAP, and in SAP I have the contract. You can do in Excel connection of the group of elements with the cost item, which is not coming in BIM model. And with one very good client, for our largest construction company in India, LNT, Mr. Mukundu, their technical director. So what we did is our team developed a system which says what is the cost and quantities coming from Excel and BIM model, and what are the costs coming from the contract. So they can easily see where is the difference. And this is very good suggested workflow, and we have those customized integrations a lot with the big clients. Okay, so now when you have this, I will just ungroup and group again according to classification. And now this is again automatically generated. And now I'm about to do the same for the construction schedule. So if I go here in a construction schedule and say, okay, let's say I will create completely a new demo. So new schedule, I will remove this one. I can choose the cost version I created 5 minutes ago. And I will name this demo, let's say BSI Canada. So as you can see, I don't have any tasks. I can, of course, import from Microsoft Project or Primavera, but again, this will be that workflow. Planning, going here. And then I don't know if I have a sprinkler which does not exist in BIM model, or opposite, I have a sprinkler in BIM model and don't have a task here, and so on. I'm really sorry that Tomislav couldn't join us, because they can present to you in Clayco what are their findings on a large-scale project. So they are started with integration of Primavera, and then continuously have a very professional metrics where they identify all inconsistencies and write them down in order to justify usage of BIM, because this is very important. So that's very smart, and I will always suggest every BIM team to clearly measure the benefits. Because just to give you an example with clash detection, when you finish solve all clashes, the management will say, oh, everything is fine. And if you say, but come on, I solved 4,000 clashes, the message will be, oh, we already did this on previous projects, so it will notify, we will see all these clashes again in the next project. So no big help. So now just how to do that. You can use a creation wizard now, since we don't have a time to elaborate this, but just by choosing one wizard. In this case, you have 2 levels on this methodology and 2 levels of zones. Click OK. The system create all relationships. So if I choose a scale to fit, expand this, I see all relationships here. In this case, critical path method is included. I can just hide it. I can see if I have any coloring according to different task groups or whatever. So I can change the way how I can see the colors, group the elements, and so on. So this is, for example, I can see where I make profit or where not. And all these relationships are proper. And In between, I have a lot of proper sub-relationships which prevent me. Usually when I'm a big company, I have one big task and then start relationship. And whenever I'm late on the first task, I will still start working on the next task at the same time because I don't see that my pace is quite slow. What is benefit of this is that whenever I isolate these task foundations, for example, you see $708,000. If I go to task editor, what is now automatically generated? Go to the cost. You see now all these cost items. So theoretically, first of all, in let's say, I don't want to mention that, but it's even impossible. They cannot have a concept of different units. In Primavera and Microsoft Project, you just have one unit. So it could be a square meter, but the problem is if I have, for example, ducts, shall I measure the length of the cables or number of valves and T connectors? And they are in a single task. So in Primavera, it's impossible to use one unit then because simply it doesn't support that. So in Bexer, you automatically have all this. You have all the quantities, what I described. So each activity, this is area, this is length, this is others. And I have, of course, always connection with BIM model. So element QTO, so you see all the elements which are included in that. So natively, for all elements, I have all this. And then this is just the end result. If I go here, update animation, just move, I can say could be hourly, let's say. It is now daily, but I will switch to hourly. So each hour, the system will show me what's going on. Let's say I can change the cameras and so on. And with different colors, I can see with different type where reinforcement is done or other activities. And as you can see now, the purpose of stop relationship, I'm not starting to build it will happen without this stop relation. I will start immediately slabs on another because the team already finished this slab and can work where I can see that. The idea is that you have a lot of magic. That's Bexel why it's used in a lot of universities across the world because it helps students to really understand the process. So I will explain to you where I can see that I have those gaps in a line of balance. Okay. So you see here, everything is parallel. Because I don't have a stop relationship. I can immediately work on above floor because everything is ready for me. But here, I have not finished structural works. So you see that between first and a second floor, I have a gap. You see, this is a gap. So that guy is working on slab, form work, and then in that phase, it starts to work again. Because he needs to wait. Of course, now, we can optimize this, slightly shorten duration in this area. So we don't have so much time. So again, there are plenty of videos which shows how you do that. You can do whatever you can do in Primavera, as late as possible, start as soon as possible. You can balance resources. So just go leveling and say, I have on the project, let's say, 10 carpenters max, and he can level my entire project at the 10 labor marker, then workers are max. But what I wanted now to show to you another, and then I will show you some videos which I wanted to show last time. But then I now asked Ken to try to do an example where I will now, so first rule, whenever you have presentation is never do a live demo. That's the first rule. The second could be in this case, never do a live demo with bad internet, for sure, especially if you're talking about cloud-based. And then never do a live demo with your colleague who was not prepared to for this. So this is a lot of if, so you should never do that, but I will try. So just see, maybe the only obstacle, to be honest, now could be the internet. So when you have the model like this, so the idea is to explain to you how we will generate a dashboards. Like on our website, you have a lot of these interesting dashboards. So one of them is the cost estimation and so on. And so now I will try to do two things. So first one, which maybe I will do a bit later, because could be really that the upload link here is quite bad, but I will just explain what is possible. So in this case, you have three sources: structural, MEP, and architectural. But in Bexel, when you are publishing to the cloud viewer, you can choose to use option source. So you literally, if you have three original sources, he will create three new IFC files. Of course, with all new added properties and added additional information, selection sets, and so on. You can also...
Sorry, we have a question in the chat. Do you want to take it as it's live, or it was a minute or two ago? I can read it out.
If I have...
So there's been a question in the chat. So for the benefit of the people in the room, I'll just read it out. If I have 5 contractors submitting 5 level 4 schedules for my single project, can I import all those 5 schedules into Bexel Manager and make one master schedule? Or in other words, what would be the best workflow to manage this situation?
Okay, so thank you for your question.
I didn't want it to go too far. And
yeah, just yes, in Bexel, first of all, you can have a lot of schedules. So I'm loading one type of schedule, let's say one Gantt chart. So I can load the schedule when it started. I can load the schedule after 4 months. So in Bexel, you don't have one, like in Project and Primavera, one main schedule and baseline. In Bexel, I can compare how much time I'm late from just the last 3 months, and then just change a baseline to say, can I compare now my latency comparing to original schedule? In Primavera, you just have two, baseline. And if you want to do that in Primavera, sorry, now I'm mentioning Primavera, of course, Primavera is excellent too, but you literally need to have 3, 4, 5 versions of Primavera file. And you can do that again, but not so flexible. So the thing is that you can, of course, also import various Primaveras or generate part by part. So now I created a schedule for one building. If I have a second one, I can use another wizard to create another one. So this is the answer that this is possible. But anyway, I will now just go back to this publish to online viewer. So the second option by default is according to category. So if I choose a category, he will create walls, one IFC file, columns, a second one, and so on. But what is the most flexible? So completely new group of IFC files. We use this in asset management, in Bexel, and so on, because I will explain this in a couple of minutes. I really need to speed up, but you will see that this is a very flexible. So because in asset management, I would like to open a building and then a building floor as a separate IFC file. If I want to replace something there, I don't want to load all mechanical equipment across my entire, 20 buildings, because this was how designers did this. And the last most flexible option is per selection set. So if I choose selection sets, I can choose any group of organization, could be per uniform, but any group of elements, I can generate this. So since now internet is not perfect, I will try to do that a bit later. But now when I click a publish, he will generate IFC files and upload directly to the cloud. So I did this literally just before presentation. Maybe upstairs the internet was better, and you get this. So you see all the elements. You can zoom. When I click here, I can see the properties and all other stuff. it's normal viewer. I can rotate it, whatever is regular. There are some, marketing things like, I don't know, ambient lighting or whatever. But this is, a more standardized way, whatever you want to do in order to see how a model looks like and so on. There are other aspects for color coding, and I will try now to just do that because it requires slightly less internet. So now I'm about to publish a report like I presented before. So we will go back to this in a second. Just usually it takes for that project size around 1 minute, if the internet is at least decent, not good. So now what you have also here, what is called very important for template, is a color coding schemes. So it's a custom breakdown structure, so you can easily now create across any property grouping and so on. So this is what is called schedule performance index. So where I build it faster, where slower, and so on. I can have a color coding per building story. This is that one. This is a cost price index, where I spend more money than it was planned, where I spend less. This is a CBS by, okay, now month, this is something I will just find. These are phases. Let's move. These are construction works by month. So I can see what was done each month in the project. This is automatically generated with small script. Bexel can add a new property. So I hope it's already here. So you can just run a small script and attach to each element what is the cost, when it was built, and so on. So when I have all this, I will create a new one now just for a demo. So let's say I will create a new structure. I can use a template or create from scratch a new group, and I will create, let's say, buildings, selection, and group by, let's say, category, all the elements. It's very simple. You can group according to any property, building level, source, whatever you want. I will group by category and then group by family, for example. Generate, click OK, and you will see now, oh, I forgot to choose a color coding. I will go upstairs. Okay, edit. And I will just choose a color coding, generate. And now you will see entire model color coded with the different colors for all families. Why this is useful, for example, because now I see all the families colored by saying, so if by any chance I make in Revit mistake that this is not the same insulation, I will see a different color. And I will say, okay, that something is wrong here. But this is just one use case. Now I'm about to do a publish. So just go to this 5D estimation. This is one template. And now I'm using a direct link. I can also go to our CD. I hope I will have some time to show you the video how CD works later. But in this case, because at the moment Ken does not have access to our entire CD because it will require a bit more time. So we did now just temporary access, allowed him to access the projects I will directly share. They are all on CD, but since he does not have access to full CD at the moment, I cannot now, I just need to manually enter the link which I get, but more or less the same. And now I have all cost versions I used here. So in this case, I will use a master format, which I created before, and also this uni format I created today, 20 minutes ago. And I can use all other cost analysis I have. And now the second step is important. Here are all my custom breakdown color coding schemas. And I will use just a couple of them. So building story, by then construction sequence, then I'm going to use this blank CBS. This, I hope, that one I created right now. I can use also subcontractors. I can use works by week, by month. I can use uniformat and let's say master format. And now click publish, finish, and I will now name this BSI Canada. What I will do now, in a couple of seconds, the system generates integrated Excel viewer and Power BI report. So I need now just to add can to access. Now I'm using this directly, of course, with CD. You will see later I can do this much more sophisticated way, but you have also a shortcut, just very simple way. So now, can you tell me your email?
Oh.
ENDO
UK.
UK.
Yes.
This and at Kajima. No,
.com.
no. Have you registered with that? Is
Yeah, that's correct. That is
that
his email.
and that?
Yeah. Kajima.
Kajima.com.
Yes.
Okay.
I remember your email.
Yeah, I also know, but whenever I start sending you email, it's automatic. Okay. Now I'm gonna click share, and it's shared, so access. So Bexel natively, because it's very important, control the access. So whenever I publish this, if you go copy that link, you will not be able, of course, it needs to be data, needs to be protected. Yeah. Okay. Now it's generated the access, and I will now open that, and you will see how it is published. So I don't know, I hope you will receive quite soon an email. And if you click on it, you will be able to open this as a viewer. But I will now create access to entire Power BI. And the idea is, again, to have it immediately, so not to do a lot of manual things. So it takes a couple of steps. So I first need to refresh the data. So the system is now refreshing. So I want to show you in live how it works, so that it's not, let's say, just a video. And now I can change. It's not good for us, but if you want, you can put, let's say, Kajima or any other company. So we would like if you mention that it's generated by us, but you have right to change all this because it's under your control. But anyway, the thing is now that when this is developed, okay, it takes some time. As you can see, it's easier to create in Excel than here, but then, so now I have all the data, and I can choose uniformat version I created a minute ago. I see all the costs here. I can choose also color schemas, but unfortunately at the moment I cannot see the model, because the model can only be seen when the project is published. That's due to security issues. So now I'm publishing the model to my workspace. And if I share now the link, if it can, he will be able to see that, use the same link. And because he has access to viewer, he will be able to see entire report. If you want to work in protected mode, then I will use a professional license. I'm now using a free license in Power BI, and then he will need also to have access to my workspace on the paid Power BI. So now this is a sample project, and now I am opening this one. And you will see now I chosen the option auto load. And the system should now, if I have logged in, okay, just to see. Okay, I have logged in. Okay, so now he should, okay, just let me see. Sometimes the internet is not perfect. Let me just see. So he should now automatically load the model. Okay, You see now it takes, internet is really not very good. Unfortunately, so usually it takes literally for the model of that size a second. So this is now quite slow. Okay, but that's why, if I may say, you should always have both desktop and that we will never say only cloud. Whenever you see, so now I'm choosing a cost version, let's say uniformat, and now I can use all color schemas I defined here. So if I choose a building story, you see it's building stories. If I click just on the first floor, here is the cost of the first floor. Now in this case, I can even go to the opposite way, to the carpenters, and see what carpenters are doing in entire building. See all the elements, everything. So it is fully connected. If I click even in the viewer on the single element, he will now tell me the price. And this is the idea of integrated ecosystem. So and now let's show the use case monthly or weekly progress certificates. If I go here now, I want first to send email to Ken. So how to do that? I will use, I have a Gmail here. Okay, okay. So now I received, as you can see, all emails, what is generated and so on, but I will now of course, if I'm using, so now you will receive the link and should be able to see the same. If I go now back to the model, I can choose, instead of this, I can choose, for example, construction works by month. Okay. Now the system will, yeah, I have clicked here. Okay. Okay. So now the system will, I can choose here, am I going to zoom or not, the model automatically, or also I can choose the height and to see the rest of the model. So in this case, I'm going to choose this one. So whenever I click on each of the months I have in the model, I can see what's done that month, and immediately I have seen now a total cost for 5 months. If I want to use opposite system, so let's say to have per subcontract per week, now the system will load to me all the works per week, and I can just click here. Okay, first week is just this. It should be excavation, but let's say in this case, I'm going to hide this and have like this. So immediately have the progress. But let's say now I would like to do the opposite. So per subcontractors, I can choose here, choose subcontractors, and everything was developed just before. So I can just now select one subcontractor, see what they are doing. If I choose this one blank, which we created before, I will have per family, so per category. So I have all categories, and now I'm loading them and see cost per that. So literally what I created, it's here. The sample reports, which are automatically generated, could be, I will just show you some of them. So this is earned value analysis, which is very important for construction. So I can see a planned versus actual, where I'm gaining or losing money. So if I say here, of course, I can choose again different color coding schemas and so on. But in this case, this is my cost and schedule variance. So I see that I'm losing in total money. But if I choose here a let's say site preparation works, and isolate just them, I will see that I have a certain results which could be a different and so on. So the idea is that whenever I'm publishing any information, I can see analytics. This is 5D estimation, but now just want to show you some other reports. So one of them is the, let's say, payment certificates for each month for different subcontractors. Again, a sample, again, everything is directly generated. And if I now isolate, let's say just the facade contractor, or let's say general contractor, I will do that. General contractor, I see what he is doing in the project. I can see his cash flow, planned and remaining. And below, unfortunately, it's now very small. I see 1.5 million is the total balance to finish costs. Okay, so he will now load also just, okay, just click here. So because you haven't logged in before, yeah, yes, click here. And he should now, yeah, because I shared with you, the system is now loading. So you will see now. So Ken can show you that now this is the way how now Ken has the access to everything we created a couple of minutes. Maybe I can show to the camera. Okay. So you see everything is now shared, and this is full control. So you decide with whom you will share your, of course, data. And even if this is very important, just it was not easy, I have to say, for us to implement security, because Microsoft is not so open and flexible in that way, but we found a way how we implemented this, because every report according to ISO 16450 must be protected. So with our big clients, it's totally forbidden. Before we have this integrated, it was forbidden to publish any report, because everyone could copy that link, and especially on a large public project, it would be a disaster. Okay, so this is a monthly payment certificate, so I can choose this type of report, or opposite. I can just select entire month and see all workers on that month. But if I want to see just a general contractor, just click here, and now I see actually what he did, and I see 204,000 is his monthly payment certificate for that month. Or another example is a clash detection. Obviously, I don't have too much time, but I will show you how clash detection works. So just I will create without any clash. So just to see what is the idea of automation. So I will see if I have clashes here. I have. So I will remove all clashes. And I will remove selection sets here. Oh, I already removed them. So just to see, I'm loading the template, import from knowledge base. So this is my knowledge base for smart selection sets for clashes. We don't have so much time, but now I will choose that clash sample. And now system will create to me smart selection sets. And the next thing what I have to do is load the template from my knowledge base with all clash jobs I have in this project. So I will just explain to you how it looks like. Oh, I should maybe load the template just. So Bexel, you always can load knowledge base and load from knowledge base all templates. For example, it's called clash matrix here. So if I load just clash job list basic, system will load all these clash jobs. If you want just to explain to you the vision, is that it's very simple. I know it now looks complicated, but literally you see what's against what. Is it hard? What is the tolerance? And shall I exclude the clashes within a group? Why we like Excel? Because you can share with everyone in your company and it's easy to be understood. Of course, if I now change something, delete some clash jobs, it will work. The idea is that you share this with your colleagues, and the system now automatically loaded the list. Of course, I can create a new job by myself, like in Navi. So I can create this against this, define tolerance. So everything is standard. But in this case, I'm not going to use that. I'm now just about to update all those clash jobs. And in 2 seconds, we found 2,800 clashes. And again, the same process like here, I can isolate all those clashes, see them on the left-hand side, clash view mode, perspective, I see all the clashes. I can group the clashes, let's say, per left-hand side. So now in this case, the system automatically grouped. If I have more clashes on the one side or another, he will create me the groups of the left-hand side or right. But the process is like this. Just publish clash detection. I have already shared. So I will, in this case, not do that again because I want to show you some other stuff. But I will use the same link. Or even I can maybe just for basic. And I'm choosing now clash jobs. And since Ken already have access to that viewer on our CD, nothing is necessary, not need to publish again the model itself because I'm using this on number of projects. And if I choose now finish, you will see now he will create the template like this. That's fine. Yeah, this is a clash job. The only so you see the system already created that template. But I will now just want to show you because don't want to repeat the entire process. So now this is how it looks like. Literally the same what I showed you before. I can click every clash. I can see all the clashes on one floor and so on. So the idea is that all those reports, and what is also interesting, that we for big clients develop a lot of templates. You can develop them by yourself. So the idea is that in Bexcel, everything which is shown here, more or less, is quite open. So you can do whatever you want. Okay, and now just to show you some real examples and some videos, I wanted to show you this as a process, so to see that it's not just, let's say, a video where it's presented, but it's really can be done in a very fast way with the automation. So now just to show you some examples. Let's say this is one simulation. So Bexcel can do very large simulations. So this is one of them. This is one of the largest hospitals in the world, and all our analyses are here. This had 6 levels of methodology. Not 1, but 6 levels. Not 4, but 6 levels. But everything else was quite simple. I can so these are line of balance and other stuff here. And okay, so now I wanted also to show you what is an example of portfolio manager. So maybe I can show you in live. To be honest, I like to show the things in live. So I'm going to reporting Bexcel manager. And now this is in Bexcel how you do that. Just go here. If I made any analytics, so cost, schedule, whatever, I just go here and, sorry, in a small add-in, publish this, all analytics to the multi-project, multi-version platform. And when it's published, I receive something like that. So I can say, for example, number of elements across several of my projects. So I see how the number of elements is changing. I can choose the totals to add or other information. So I can change the type of the chart. So let's say like a bar or stacked bar So I can see a total number of elements, and this is per versions. In this case, it's per month. But let's say data checks. I can, of course, add a legend just to see. And if I want now to see data, high priority clashes. This is a high priority clashes on all my projects, which I chosen. So in this case, I have a lot of other projects in the system. They removed me access to the, which I required. So just that I can see just the demo data. But so I can choose some other projects as well, and I will see statistics from them as well. The thing is, what I can also do, data checks. So how many data is there in the project? So I can see all analytics, and then I can go drill down. So how many percent, what is the percent of this? You can also drill down to see which data check was used and so on, but this is now, we don't have time for all this. Or if I want to see how much money is generated, estimated from BIM model, how much not. So I can go to cost from BIM and non-BIM. So you see, so I know that in this case, this is reality. So this is not ideal. We never have 100% cost from BIM. I can see that we are moving in the right direction. But I know that this is, for example, maybe accurate. This is not. Or I can have also planned versus actual or various analytics. Let's say these are charts, earned value, and a lot of other things. Number of tasks on critical path. So if I'm a bit late, it's going to be more tasks on critical path and so on. And of course, they are earned value analysis. So for example, in this case, I know this was a design stage, so that's why they are zeros. But when construction started, I know immediately in the first month, do you know what earned value or cost and schedule variance is? No, I will just maybe just explain to you this. Because this is very, very important. This is literally, if you are dealing with the project management, this is the only two numbers. There are just a couple of them also important, but these are the two most important numbers project manager needs to know. When you see that, this is a planned curve. This is the actual red line. It's a small gap here. So what it means, this is a current day, status day. So it means I lost, that's earned value, $133,000 for the planned work which I did at that time. More. So it's not compare my planned work, but planned work which was delivered. And it literally means that for the estimated works which I did, let's say form work, foundation works, and so on, for actually exactly the same amount of elements I built, I spent directly 133,000 more. So this is my costs, 2,100,000, and this is earned value. Because, so this number is bad, this number is good. So if I spend 3 million, but my earned value is just 2 million, does not mean that I'm closer to the end of the project. I'm closer just for those 2 million. This is just my unforeseen or additional expense. So do you have any questions? I hope I was clear with this. And another number is my schedule variance. In this case, it's 1.7 million. So it means that I planned, according to my original schedule, 3.7 million to have until these days invoiced. And I invoiced only, not that number, 2 million is bad number for me, just this number, 1.9. So it means if I pay my office costs, based on my invoices on the site, I'm in a big problem because this 6-7 months I did much less. But what you can do in Excel, drill down these analytics up to the single group of elements. So for example, from foundation, let's say schedule variance is 0, but I'm in plus. So I know when we usually present this to the teams in large construction company, somehow they started to be more effective. Literally, we as humans, if we know that if we are professional and someone will notice that we make the profit and that hopefully we will be rewarded for that, we are more motivated. The problem is that usually the top manager will first never figure out this until the end of the project. And then until the end, when he realized that this is a minus, he will say all guys did the bad work. And the foundation guy will be also guilty like all others. Usually he will be more. As usual, you know, the instant guys are more guilty than those ones who are not. So anyway, the idea is when you have all this analytics, or just to give you example with, let's say, monthly payment certificates, just to give you idea how you analyze this. So you see, this is reality. This is what is done each month and so on. This is actually status month. Is this realistic? This is planned and actual. This is actual, and this is what has to be done until the end of the project. Do you need to be a rocket scientist to understand that this is a bit ambitious? And that's the idea. So with number of contractors, they actually organize the work. It's not a problem in the team. Because, as I said, construction management is the most difficult project management process. The idea is that a number, I remember I was personally 10 years ago on some of those meetings. The smart client, the owner usually said, oh, no, it's not the problem Bexel told us that we should have another subcontractor, and that's it. But it's good that you know that today, so you have time to correct this. The problem is if you realize that at that time. And now, just since we have to finish, just to explain to you our cloud-based system in a short video, and also so how our CD works. So just I will try to see. Okay, this is. So in Bexel CD, so all the data can be directly published. You will see some functionalities now. So this is a standard CD with control of all versions, who published, access rights, and so on. Natively in Bexel Manager, you have several modules, and we are now constantly adding a lot of additional. So one module is for facility maintenance, second is for document management, and in this case, another one is for reports. So how the system works? You just upload any new version of the project. You have a documents. Documents are not up. Just for one project, you have one set of documents. Bexel always connect the data, documents, or facility maintenance plans to the elements and groups of elements, optional. So whenever you click on the element and group of the elements in the BIM model, you see all the documents connected. So you can not use that if you don't want. Then you see all the documents like a standard CD. So the thing is that so this is a version control, you can have access rights, so who can see the model and so on. Oh, I'm using this just to see, it's very small, sorry about that. I've chosen a wrong video. Okay, I think this one is better. So you will see now a bit larger this. So these are the users, version control, who did what, who can have access. So this is the way how you create a new version, or you can directly create a new version from Bexel Manager. So now since Ken does not have access, literally, if he has access, I will just say, okay, he has access to the project sample, and he will immediately have access to all new versions. So this is fully IFC based, so I can add now new source, load any IFC file, it's loaded, similar like not rocket science. Bexel, on other side, as I explained, create the groups of IFC files as it was requested. You have a search for all documents and maintenance plans you have in the system. Of course, so now you can open all documents. You have a version control. So I will see just a couple of minutes and it's finished. So you have always, you can replace the file or group of files with a new version. You can upload one file, more files, same like in any, it's really not rocket science to have a document management system. So you just upload the files. But now I don't know exactly this video, but you have the option to link the documents, for example, facade elements, to the elements in the project. You have in Bexel all selection sets automatically generated also in Bexel. So in this case, louvers are only highlighted. So it's not just IFC based, could be according to any hierarchical structure. And now you see linked 55 elements are linked to that document. So when you click to that element, you see the documents connected to it. So Bexel natively always connect everything which is possible with BIM. Otherwise, doesn't make sense. So now it's how you replace with the revision, same and so you upload that, save, and this is, you see all the history 3 versions, so you can always open the previous one. So have entire version history. The difference maybe comparing to some other tools, this always can be hosted on client premises, entire system. So we don't know how you use the system, and that's fair. Of course, can be hosted via Microsoft partners, so usually it's Microsoft Azure if we are using service. These are maintenance plans. So you have contracts, maintenance plans, and entries. So contract is I'm supposed to repair the building, mechanical equipment for next 5 years. So you define the interval, you can define the nodes. You can also attach from document management the document. So user manual, what has to be inspection checklist, for example, this. So whenever you go to the site, or you have a notifications. So if you are about to do maintenance, you will receive, for example, in this case, 3 days before, an email with that what you have to do, and you visually see the elements which has to be repaired. So we are lucky that, for example, our largest national housing company use a lot on all their projects. They are the largest owner of all assets in our country, and they use on all these their projects this system. You have also the entries. So the important thing is when you're supposed to check 10 elevators in an entire complex, you can say this week I just did 6 of them. So you literally know which elements are finished, which not. Usually asset management applications and facility maintenance can just have one and off. I finished, I not. You can change the status, or this is a color coding schema, of course, per interval, and so on. So more or less, and maybe the last here, and okay, so you can see what elements should be quarterly maintained, which this is the shortest period, because some element can have more intervals, regular check, specific check, and so on. And these are also last is reports. So at the end, you have in this last tab, reports, and these are integrated dashboards. So when you click to reports, you have 5D estimation, earned value, clashes, and when you click, you see the version of the BIM model which is used for that report. So could be version 3, could be version 1. So you see all these reports in one ecosystem. And the same goes with the portfolio manager. So if I go here, okay. I think here is, yeah, you have here a portfolio manager, and he automatically or open the data to that portfolio. So this is the statistics for that particular project. You can, of course, load the other projects as well, but this is just the shortcut in entire ecosystem. So that's more or less everything I want to share with you. Thank you. If you have any questions, I know we are already late.
No, no, you're good. Any questions from the audience? Nothing online either. Go on, Ken.
Please.
Yeah, it's quite fundamental question. And then your title of presentation is holistic. What's again? Benefits of holistic open digital construction management. And then the Veljko manager realized, I guess so, the holistic solution. But so does it mean that all of the related data should be integrated to store on your system?
That's
So
excellent.
basically, there's the one BIM model, and then some cost data and schedule data, and then, but you don't have the authoring function on
No.
this Excel
You import the data.
import. So when you update the model
Yes.
to upload again, and how is the link around other data? It's my question.
Excellent question. So first of all, just to show you the map, unfortunately, Tomislav could not join us today because he has had another lecture, I think, in Chicago. But first, I can just give you their example. So we are trying to be all realistic. So we have a holistic approach across the company. So we first defined a year and a half ago pilot projects. And then based on success, we had the metrics continuously increase. And now more or less we have on a global level, so all their projects, but does not mean that all are started yet. But more or less the agreement is for all their projects. So they have this company system of support because we have a special company package deals and everything else. The thing is also that we try, first of all, how the system works in terms of IFC, maybe just to show you the ecosystem. So there are two slides. Oh, this is not the new one. Okay, this is one example, let's say, but I will try even. Okay, this is IFC. So whenever you update the model, you connect the data, you can replace one IFC file with a new one. So if you just change one IFC file and you have 100, you can just replace one of them. So that's how Veljko works. You have updating process. Veljko automatically, based on smart rules, produce all reports. But what is very important is connection with other. Your question is also, should all data be in Veljko? The answer is no, and that's almost never. The example is, so for example, they are using a lot one very good system, Snowflake, for data sources. I know you presented the Amazon system or so on. So the data can be connected with any outside source. So they're using a Snowflake as a hub for their ERP system, human resources. They are even measuring them and some other kinds, have a system who track all the trucks and equipment in a totally separate system, and they just connect the data. Because in Bexel, in order to do earned value, you need to have actual costs. Because if the costs are the same, earned value will be always cost difference will be zero. So you connect these systems, and that's how you produce analytics. So the idea is that you connect Bexel with all other sources. The only difference is that in that case, let's say you talk about this, because monthly payment certificate from accounting system will not change if the model is changed. So you have this system, but then you combine this with this system, and that's the end result. So, and let's say, or sorry, I have to say, maybe, for example, for Clayco, they are at this level. So this is a Snowflake system which integrates all their data, and the data goes here. They have also a resource management, separate applications which track real data for their resources, and it's not done in Bexel. You can manually enter all this data in Bexel, but why if you already have that data in other systems? So just integrate. So these are the ideas how the data is. And what we started, I'm just giving you now since he cannot join us today. We started with the Primavera, and if I may just, okay, I hope he will not be angry. I'm just kidding. So this is the ecosystem, how they are using. They are not using all authoring tools, just 4 of them. So these are his slides, let's say, and these are the tools they are using. But for example, they have a holistic approach, so about the people, about the team, about the education. So we organized a lot of education for them. So these are the dashboards coming from Bexel. So they have, for example, also this slide is interesting. They're using, I'm just telling you that it's not easy for company to transfer from Primavera to only Bexel. So they do in parallel import from Primavera in Bexel and generation in Bexel, and do very serious metrics. So an interesting dashboard, this one, is what they found comparison Primavera and Bexel. So they find that one catwalk concrete was not properly organized schedule logic. They find that they have double tasks in different parts, 2 same tasks, and it was notified in the system. Then they found that they have missing tasks. So, but they really, we help them, we have regular meets, but they have a regular track record of metrics, because metrics is very important to know at the end what is the optimal way. So that's why all hours working, everything is measured in a fair way, because they would like to have optimal system. But the crew, one of things is education. Of course, this is really very important, because without education, it's really not easy. So the idea is to combine everything. I know, for example, you or the others have a lot of data already, so it's not idea to replace it. So just to identify what can be integrated and so on. I have to mention another example with Larsen and Toubro, largest Indian and maybe one of the top 10 in the world contractors. So they have in a parallel, so just to give you idea, of course, now that dashboard cannot be shown here, but they have in parallel monthly payment certificates coming from Bexel, and the same dashboard coming from their internal ERP system. So when you click here, you will, instead of just one set of numbers, this is coming from Bexel. These are real BIM quantities. They have also quantities from agreement, and then they analyze where they can optimize the process or where they have opportunity and so on. And slowly, the idea is that they will all quantities calculate from Bexel. The problem is that on large sum tenders, the quantities are not calculated from BIM, and since they signed the contract, they have to follow those quantities. So these are real examples. So it's not It's not straightforward, but let's say slowly, steadily, you can change this. So is this answer to your
Yeah,
question?
thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe just I will finish with this because I remember you asked me once what is very important, how to access the data. It is by Swagger. So you can use direct integration, but also you have in ecosystem the entire Swagger, if I can find the slide. Okay, anyway, if not, doesn't matter. So the data is accessed with REST API. So all the data which is here can be accessed with this way. Just I will show you the slide just to explain. So here you have a REST API and all the data can be connected with other systems optionally as well. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you everyone for attending. Thank you to those online, and I will now bring this session to a close. Thank you, Veljko.
Stop sharing.